So what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of What's Up, Sonia Blade. I am your host, Sonia Blade. And today my guest is my cousin, David Seale, aka the Seventh Seal.
Hey,
How you doing?
I am good, man. I'm excited to be on the podcast today. I've listened to two of them, I believe. Yeah, it was two of them. But I'm glad to get to actually be on it today and have some conversation about art and whatever else.
And this is my favorite cousin. Sorry, other cousins. I have cousin love. I love my family. And I probably have stories with other cousins I could tell forever. But my cousin here, he holds a place in my heart. Yes.
Oh, that means so much to me.
And he's a beast at whatever he touches. He's a musician. He's a photographer. He's a writer, poet. Just a beast. Everything you touch turns to gold.
Oh man, it's. I think it's just in the family, man. Art and creativity has always been a part of our family. So I'm just grateful to be part of the family.
Definitely. We realize that this is sort of a full circle moment. Because I don't know if you remember back in the days, I used to have a little tape recorder and we used to do all these, like, we'd make up little talk shows and all these little things we would do.
Yes, I sure do. I always tell people my writing began in my cousin's room because we were just crazy kids who loved music, and we were always trying to come up with something, either creating a song from a song, or writing out the lyrics to a song, or just, I don't know, just having fun. Like, I remember those days vivid in my mind. And you know what's crazy is I don't remember a lot of things from my child. Like, I blocked out a bunch of stuff from my childhood, but that is one thing that has always stuck with me throughout the years. And yeah, definitely my creativity was sparked in that room for sure.
Yeah, the foundation of my creativity came from those moments when we were kids.
Yep.
You know, I have to call us out, and people will probably, never let us hear the end of it, but Vanilla Ice.
Oh, yo, let me tell you, man. Ice Ice Baby, that album was fire to me.
You know what's sad is that I had the tapes with me. I had a tape. For those who don't know what tapes are.
And I thought you were like the coolest. Well, you were the coolest cousin because my parents would not allow me to listen to Vanilla. So anytime I got to come over, I felt like, yes, finally I get to hear this rap again.
Wow. That's so crazy. I mean, the things that we used to do, like, even I think back to, like, when we used to go to church.
Yep.
All separated, right? Like, we would sit together, we would begin sitting together, and then by midway we were separated because we were always laughing. Like, everything was funny to us.
Yes.
We always found a joke out of something.
You know what? I have a picture I'm going to send you after the podcast that I just remembered. It's a picture of me sitting on the couch. I must have been maybe 7 or 8. And I know for sure 1,000%, because in the picture I was on the phone, and I know for sure I was on the phone with you because we always used to be on the phone. I don't even know what we were talking about as kids, but I know for sure that I was on the phone with you. So I'm gonna send you that picture after the podcast. I just remembered it randomly.
That's funny, and those were before. That was probably before call waiting. So we were holding phone lines.
Oh yeah.
What were we talking about at?
Rotary, that was a rotary phone days.
Rotary phone days.
Yep.
Getting the Sears catalog. That's what it was. It was,
yes.
Page 35. See that transformer? I'm going to get it.
Oh my gosh. The good old days, man. It's so true.
So how do you feel that's built you up as a creative now? From our times back then too.
Like I said, I remember Vanilla Ice, and you also had MC Hammer's "Can't Touch This" on tape. And those two albums, I remember, as weird, as bizarre as it may seem, those two albums were integral in me just getting a love for the writing part of it. Like, because I remember listening to those raps and thinking, like, how do they come up with these things that rhyme? It still makes sense and makes you feel good, or makes you feel sad, or makes you feel in love. And that was definitely the beginning of my not so much my musical journey, but the writing part of the journey for me. Because I didn't really start playing instruments till I came back from college. So really it was writing up till I was 18. So yeah, that those early stages of us just exploring those albums, as commercial and pop as those albums were, it was still the introduction to the art of poetry and the art of writing and hip hop for me. So yeah.
MC Hammer. That was, I think, my brother's, because I remember he went through his MC Hammer phase. He even got an MC Hammer suit.
Oh,
Calling you out.
I need to see a picture of that. Yeah, but that was definitely the start of my writing journey. It was examining those albums and writing it out to see how they did what they did.
Yeah. So you started like writing hip hop, I guess, or was it like a combination of poetry?
No, it was definitely hip hop.
Yeah.
So I started writing to figure out how they did it, but I wasn't writing my own stuff until Nas released an album, his first album, Illmatic, and there was a song called. Wait, can I swear on this podcast?
Go for it.
Okay, so there's a song called "Life's a Bitch" that Nas has. When I heard that song, I remember sitting on my bed and thinking to myself, "Wait a minute, you can express like pain like that, like hurt through hip hop like that." And I remember just writing it out and saying, "You know, I want to write a song like this." And of course, I tried, and it was horrible. but that was my first journey of writing an original piece. Was Nas listening to "Life's a Bitch" and just thinking like, "This is what I want to do." Like, this is who I want to be. This is what I want to do. And from that day, I think I was 11 then, either 11 or 12. And from that day, I haven't stopped writing.
I mean, your poetry is so beautiful now and amazing. I'm like so proud of you when I hear you, and projects that you put out. You have a book too, right?
Yeah, I got a bunch of books now. I'm on, I think, my sixth book,
Okay.
which is crazy because all I said was I was going to write one, and then I'm always right. And again, like I started when I was 11, so I've always like since that day, I've always like I try to write something a day, even if it's just I don't know a paragraph or a page or whatever. But I always try to write something every day. I don't always share what I write, but I always try to write something every day,
Yeah.
and that was definitely the journey to spark, I guess, my way into poetry. So a lot of times when people hear my poetry, they're like, "Oh, you're so musical with your poetry," and it's because I came out of hip hop. Like that was my foundation, my background. So it's kind of hard because a lot of times I'll be writing and realize, wait a minute, I'm like, this sounds more like a rap. I gotta change it up a little to fit more of the spoken word world. But for the most part, I just write how I write, and wherever it goes, it goes. But I'm appreciative that anyone even cares or understands or rocks with the stuff that I write, because I don't really write for people. I write just what I'm feeling or what my emotions are in the moment. So when people are like, "Oh, I relate to that heavy," I'm like, "Oh wow, I'm shocked, but blessed to be a blessing."
And you have kids too.
Yes, I got
Well, they're not
three.
kids anymore. They're like young adults, but
Yeah, three kids. They're they're all big now, but they're all my two oldest are they're creatives as well.
yeah.
So my oldest, she sings and she writes poetry too, but not as much as I would like her to, and she draws too, but she doesn't draw as much as I'd like her to because she's so good at it. But she just like just something that I do in pastime. But like, man, if they ever devote themselves to the arts, yeah, they're so. I wish I was as talented as my
Yeah.
children. Like they are so talented, it's crazy.
I was going to say what I appreciate about you is like I remember when they were younger and you used to put posts of your sort of playtime with those kids, right? So it was like I would watch those videos and then think of us.
Yes.
So you guys, I remember Simona and you playing patty cake or whatever hand game it was, where you kind of get faster and faster and just kind of giggling and laughing. And I was like, that's so us when we were young,
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of times I've had a few people like ask me about that, and it's like it's not something I purposely did. It's just honestly, I just have like some of the coolest kids, and it was for me, like I always wanted to be a father. I always wanted to be, someone that could relate to their kids. I didn't want my kids to feel, because I'm so, my brothers are 12 and 14 years older than me.
Yeah.
So the age gap between me and my parents was so huge. It was like, sometimes I felt like they couldn't relate to me. So
Yeah.
I always wanted to, like, when I had kids, I was like, yeah, I'm going to, try to be that cool dad to my kids. But I didn't even have to be. My kids are just so super cool and relatable. And as funny as my initial thought was too, there was so many moments where they would put me in my place and be like, yeah, you're not the cool dad you think you are. Like I remember when TikTok first came on the scene and they were doing TikTok, and I was like, oh, let me try to do a TikTok with you.
They're like, no, please, no.
It was horrible. Oh no, they were like, sure, but then they try to show me the stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll try it. But it was bad. Yeah. So since then, I think I have a TikTok account, but I don't even use it.
Yeah, I think TikTok was where it ended for me. I had it and then I just got rid of it. I was like, that's where it ends. It's too much. It's enough that I have to keep up with Instagram and IG. It's too much now.
Right? Yeah, man. But this new generation, man, they have so much, so many different apps and stuff that they're on, and they're able to keep up with like communicating through all the mediums. And I'm like, that is so dope. But I don't know if it's because, we're adults, we don't have as much time, or if we're just not as creative as our kids. But I'm in amazement every time I see how involved they are. And yeah, I'm like, man, I'm just trying to keep up with one post a day on Instagram.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's like since I did this podcast, obviously I have to promote it, but it's like, okay, if I get a post out every other day, I'm doing something. If I get a post out every week, then I'm happy.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you.
How was your journey being a creative? Like, how was that with your family? Because I know we're very similar, right? My brothers are 10 and 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
So like, I was kind of a different seed. They went in the more practical direction. Engineering and science.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm more of the creative. So how was that for you growing up?
Yeah. So, this is interesting. And you know what? It's interesting too, because we've never actually really had this conversation. So it's kind of cool that we're having it here on the podcast. And I'm gonna be completely transparent.
Yes, please.
So I'm gonna say some stuff that might shock you, but so like for me, again, my journey started with that Nas song, and at the time, I don't know if you remember, my father had left my mother, so he was separated from my mom for that time, and I hated my father during that period. So that's what was really fueling my writing, was my passion and hatred toward my father. And as horrible as that sounds, it was still, and I tell people all the time, you don't know the cost of someone's art. Like a lot of times we look at artists and we're like, oh, that's such a beautiful painting, or that's such a beautiful rap they did, or such a beautiful poem that they did, but you never know where they came from, like what brought them to that point, and it was a lot. It was very painful at first, like a lot of the early art that I was creating through hip-hop. So the journey actually at first was very painful, up to when I got into, I would say, grade 10, and then that's when I discovered battle rap, where I was like, oh, wait, I can actually battle people and talk bad about people artistically. This is what I want to do. And it's so bizarre, but it was fulfilling. It was strengthening my self-esteem, which I did not have at that time. As messed up as that sounds. But yeah, it was definitely a time of, I would say, healing and rebuilding and just learning who I was during that time. So that was the begin. I would say the beginning part of my journey to being an artist. And then when I went away for college, came back and I had my first job, and I was like, oh, I have all this money. Let me buy a drum set. And it was literally like that. It wasn't like, oh, I want to play music, or I want to play for this concert, or I want to gig or tour. It was nothing like that. I just had all this money, and I was like, I'll buy a drum set. And yeah, I didn't know that I had musical stuff inside of me until I started playing drums, and then that led to playing piano and bass, and it's just yeah. Ever since, it's just been this snowball of art that just keeps coming and coming. It's not like I forced it, but it kind of just organically happened. And I always thought that I would have been the non-musical one in my family because Wayne, my middle brother, he was always playing bass guitar. My oldest brother, Terry, he was always playing electric guitar. And I was just out the one always just sitting there doing nothing, you know? So yeah, it's quite interesting, but that's kind of where the bulk of my journey began and continued. Was definitely the painful situation of my father leaving us, and just feeling like I had all this anger built up and didn't know how to share it. Until I found hip hop, and then I was like, oh, cool, I can do it here.
I think that a lot of times that's where art comes from, though, because I mean, going back to like my family, you know, my parents didn't have the best relationship. So for me to be creative, it was more of me just kind of finding a world where I can, you know, just sort of tune everything out that was going on around me.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I didn't write. I would dabble in a little bit of everything, actually. I dabbled in a little bit of drawing. I dabbled in a little bit of writing. I used to play violin.
I remember that actually.
Yeah. I was a good violinist too.
Yes, I remember you used to play violin. That's cool. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it's like that was just my escape. But then there was also the other part of me that kind of feared really exploring it because, you know, what would everyone say? What would my family say? Like, you know, I need to do this. I need to be a doctor, a lawyer, work for the government, or whatever the case may be. Like, being an artist was, well, that's a fun hobby, but not a real job.
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely got that on top of that, because my parents were super spiritual. There was also the God element, like, you know, you can't do this as a Christian. And I remember I think I was either 12 or 13, and there was a record label that was holding auditions in Toronto for artists, and it was at the El Macombo Club. I remember, I don't even know if that still exists, but it was at the El Macombo Club. And I remember trying to sneak and go audition, and somehow my mom found out about it and was like, first of all, you're not old enough to be.
Hear your mom, David.
Right? And she was like, if you are going to go, I'm going to take you. And my mom took me. My mom actually took me down to Elma come. But I mean, she was not supportive of it. Like, she didn't want me to go, but she was like, if you are going to go, I'm going to take you.
Yeah.
I remember even after that, like, coming back home, and I remember them both, my mother and father, sitting me down, trying to tell me that, you know, rap is not a good thing, and I shouldn't be expressing myself in this art form. Of course, I didn't listen. I just kept doing whatever. But yeah, kind of like yourself, like it wasn't. They didn't see it as a viable income source, or you know, something that spiritually they felt like it would have disconnected me from God. So
yeah. And you're on your own spirit. You still go to church and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, ironically now, I'm like, some weekends I'm in church Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So like some weekends, my whole weekend is spent playing, because I play a bunch of instruments, depending on, you know, what the need is of the church, or sometimes I play for other churches as well. So depending on what's happening on a weekend, sometimes my whole weekend is spent in church. And even just outside of being an artist, like, throughout the years, I got my own relationship with God. So, like, you know, I'm a man of faith. I believe in prayer. So, like, you know, and that's nothing to do with my parents. And a lot of people growing up is like, they only went to church because of their parents. But even though I was rapping, even though I had all this hate inside of me, and, you know, I still had a love for God. And that's something that has never changed, even though, you know, I went through some horrible things. Like, that has always been a constant. And I always try to encourage, you know, my friends with their kids, and be like, you know, even if you might not agree with, you know, the way they dress, the way the music that they're listening to, you have to give them that space and that freedom to find who they are and to express themselves, because whether or not we know it, we express ourselves in so many different ways, in dress, and even the way we speak is an expression, you know. And a lot of times, especially in coming from West Indian culture, sometimes we want to funnel that and make sure it always looks one way. But I try to encourage parents to let their kids be their kids, and however they want to express themselves, you know, give them that freedom.
Yes, exactly. I think sometimes you have to kind of go on your own journey to find who you are. And then that's been the story of my life. I had to find who I was, you know, and my parents were very strict, right? So there were a lot of rules and yeah, I rebelled a little bit. You know, I
Okay.
came back. I found who I am. I think I'm also very spiritual, more so, especially over the last few years. But yeah, life's a journey.
And things can change too, because I remember as a kid, I always hated wearing ties and suits. And I remember asking my dad one day, I was like, "What's the purpose of a tie? Like, it doesn't hold up your shirt. Like, what is the purpose of the tie?" And he was like, "You know what? You're right. Like, it doesn't really serve a purpose. So if you don't want to wear it, you don't have to wear it." And I stopped wearing ties for like my whole teenage years, you know. But now that I'm, you know, older, I find myself gravitating towards ties. Like, I love expressing myself in a suit and a tie. Mind you, I'll still rock my sneakers though. That ain't dangerous. I'll still be in my Jordans, but I'll be in a suit with a tie. So it's crazy to see how, even, you know, as a child, how I thought one way, and then as an adult, you may think, "Oh, you know what? I actually like what I didn't used to like." You know, so you
Yeah.
got to give your kids that space to find who they are and to grow.
What advice would you give your kids from your experiences?
Mm. I'm assuming you mean like when in regards to art,
In regards to art, just life in
uh,
general,
life.
following dreams.
Yeah. Um, Man, there's so many life lessons that I've shared. I don't even know where to begin, but I'll specifically talk about arts. One thing I try to stress to my children is the importance of practicing, because a lot of times, especially in this generation, like, people look at YouTube and they can get knowledge quickly. So you can get like how to play 50 Cent in the club on piano by just watching a YouTube clip. And you could learn that and think that you know piano just based off of being able to play that one thing, right? So I try to educate my kids and let them know, listen, if you're going to do any art, it takes practice. You need to learn scales, rudiments, you know, you need to learn even just the history of why does this music sound the way it sounds? Why did someone write the way they wrote it? Why do the lyrics make me feel happy or sad in the way that it was written? So I try to encourage my kids that whatever art they're trying to do, to have a discipline in it, because the more disciplined you are in your practice time is the more effective you'll be when you have to perform whatever it is that you're going to do. My second daughter, she's studying to be an actor, so like she'll watch a movie and like pick apart all the bad acting, all the lighting in the scene, the even the what do you call it, the screenwriting, like the writing of the actual movie. She'll pick that apart, and I think it's so cool that
Yeah.
she's seeing beyond the front layer of art. You know, she's getting deeper into it for herself. So yeah, I just try to encourage them to develop a discipline in practice, and whatever they want to do, it will take practice, but anything is possible. And
Any
don't let anyone hinder you from whatever your dream is. Even myself, even if I'm like, yo, you can't sing, but you want to sing, keep practicing, because who knows if I'll be wrong in 5 years, 2 years, 2 weeks. You know, or art takes time to
Yeah,
develop.
exactly. I mean, like how many singers you see out there now who you're just like, how do they have a number one record? Like
Yes,
they have absolutely no talent, but the difference is they had the
yes.
discipline to
Hmm.
go in the studio, the discipline to work at it, to create this thing, right? So
Hmm.
everything is possible. You're absolutely right. You just got to put your focus and practice. In my interview with my niece and nephew, I said, if you want to be a puppeteer, you know, you could be a puppeteer and just work at it. Like, look at Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock came out of
Facts.
a guy who loved puppets. So
And so also one more life lesson that I always try to share with them is never never, and it's biblical, it's in the Bible, but never despise the day of small things, meaning you may not want to do like a small gig or a small whatever show or something, but you never know where that could lead. Like
yeah,
so many opportunities that I've had in life, it's been because of the small things I've done, not so much the big things, but the small things that I've done that have led to other things. So I always try to tell my kids, anything you're doing, no matter if there's 50 people in the audience or 50,000, treat it the same. Like, do your best and God will do the rest.
yep, absolutely. I agree with that. Any regrets,
In regards to what?
art, or any like maybe an opportunity that you could have had?
Not so much regrets. Just I think I would have done certain things different. So like when my kids were really, really small, I had a few opportunities to go on tour with certain artists in Toronto. And I was like, I don't want to leave my kids. Like I don't want to be away from my children. But in retrospect, I probably could have did one or two of those tours, but I was always like, I'm not doing it till they're 18. And like now that, now my kids are 20 and 18, now it's like, do I really want to do it now? Like, I'm too tired. Like, I know what it takes to tour. Like, now I don't even have that passion to do it. So, it's not in a bad way, just I rather just be at home. I rather just be here locally
Yeah,
doing art than traveling doing art. So,
that's okay. I mean, and that could change for you too, right? A year from now, you might have a tour opportunity, and you'd be like, "Oh, I love this. I'm gonna do it."
true. Like, man, maybe into retirement. And that's the beauty of art. Like, there's no age limit. Like, look, Jay-Z is how old? He's still on top of the hip hop game. Like, there's no age limit when it comes to art, which is a good thing. So who knows? Maybe closer to retirement, I may be like, I want to tour it out. But for right now, I'm kind of okay. But that would be the only. I wouldn't say regret though, because I love those times that I spent with my children when they were young. You know what I mean? And I feel like those are moments that will stay with me for eternity.
Yeah.
So I don't regret it. It's just looking back, I probably could have did one or two of them that I let pass. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But like I said, things change. You never know.
True. 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 True.
You mentioned, so yeah, I know your brothers play. Have you guys ever tried to start a band?
No. So funny thing. Me and my brothers have only played anything together at my father's funeral. Like that was literally the only time we ever played as a band together was at my father's funeral.
Yeah,
We have never, I mean, like we've jammed at the house, but like as far as like doing something organized, no, never. Partially because again, there's the age gap and I started music way later than they did. So they have played together many times, but as for all three of us, nah, we just my father's funeral. That's the only time we've ever played together. And right now, my middle brother is in the States, so I don't even know how that would work. Maybe if he was here, we could think about
yeah.
doing a band, but no, ironically, we've never even recorded anything. I've recorded stuff with both of them, but separately. Like we've never done like an all together. Okay, this is just a Seale song or something. Never. But yeah, that would be something cool that we could do or should do.
Yeah, I mean, Dwayne's such a beast of a bass player.
Yeah,
Terry,
he is.
everyone's a beast. You
Yep.
guys could have been like the Jacksons.
Oh man, it's so true. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when that happens or how that happens. And partially too, I feel like because I'm the youngest, I don't feel like they take me serious.
Yeah,
If they decided to do it, I would be gung ho about it. But I don't know how that
I'm
would
sure
ever happen.
everyone has different musical tastes too, right? So,
Completely. Well, I always tell people that I'm a blend of both of my brothers and hip hop. If both of my brothers knew about hip hop, that's me. Like that's, you know what I mean? Because I'm a huge Stevie Wonder fan, and I know I got that from Wayne, because I
Yeah.
remember him listening to the greatest hits of Stevie in the car driving me to school. And I didn't know who Stevie Wonder was at the time. I just knew, oh, whatever that artist that is, he's amazing. And then, later on when I found out his name, and I was like, oh, okay, I love Stevie. And then I found out, more of his music for myself. And then my oldest brother, Terry, he's super into funk. So that's like all the early drumming stuff that I did was all funk based. And that was all stuff that I used to hear from him, that he would
Yeah.
play, or records that he would be like, oh, listen to this, listen to this. And I'd be like, oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. So, yeah.
You had the musical influence from your older siblings
Yeah.
built upon your own kind of style of music.
Big time. Big time. Which I love, because a lot of times people would be like, yo, how do you play the way you play, or where do you get like the way you play from? And I'm like, it's kind of just this melting pot of everything that I love. Like it will always have a hip hop vibe to it, or a feel to it. Even when I'm playing in church, like a lot of times stuff that I'll play is not necessarily a hip hop song, but it will have that feel to it. And it's because I've listened to so much of that music growing up that it filters into anything that I do.
Yeah. Do you still produce?
I produce for other people. I do not. I have not produced anything for myself in like 2 years. It's horrible. But
What's going on there?
yeah, it's just, I mean, because I've always been writing. So the poetry part has always been, but in the past few years, people have been pushing me more on poetry, and I've been more involved in the poetry scene. So I think that's kind of pulled me away from doing stuff that I want to do musically. But yeah, and partially too because the albums that I have put out musically, that's kind of what I wanted to do. So it's like I've done what I've wanted to do. So now I'm just exploring what else I can do, type of thing. But yeah, it's nothing like, oh, I hate music now or anything. No, it's just I don't know. I've just been drawn more to the poetry scene than the producing scene. But I still do produce for a lot of artists locally, and wrote a few songs this year for some. Actually, I don't even know if I told you I was nominated for a Juno last year.
What?
Yeah, but as a producer though, not as a writer, as a producer. So, but producing for myself, no, I haven't really done much for myself recently.
Yeah. Yeah. How is the poetry going? Do you have any new projects coming up?
So ironically, this morning I found out that I was a part of an anthology, a poetic anthology. So I can't remember how many poets are in the book. I want to say 8. It might be 8 or 9 poets that are in the book, but the anthology is a little different. So what we did is each poet had a prompt. So each poet created a prompt for every other poet to write to. So each chapter of the book. So for instance, my chapter of the book is written off of everyone else's prompts, and their chapter is written off of other people's prompts. So it's kind of a uniquely done book. So it wasn't really like we came up with the ideas ourselves, but we came up with ideas for other poets to write to. And we just found out that we won best. I can't remember what the title was, but it's best anthology, poetic anthology for 2024. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, it's just found that out this morning. So
That's dope.
yeah, I was like, that's super dope. But yeah, besides that, I've just been writing like crazy. And I've done so many different things poetically as far as like book wise. Like I've done a creative writing book. I did straight vulnerable, right? So all the poems in that book are like pieces that I would never probably share on a mic, but it's a transparent look into the person behind the art.
Yeah.
I'm also known for a lot of my erotic poetry, so I did an erotic poetry book, and I mixed it with a boudoir photo shoot because I do photos too. I love photography, so that was pretty cool. pretty fun. And then last year, I was able to do a Christian book. So I have a huge gamut of different writing, which I love because a lot of people try to pigeonhole artists to be one thing. When, you know, art is art. Like sometimes you might want to write a poem to God, and other time you might want to write a poem to your woman, or you know, something else. And it doesn't make either wrong or right. It's just art. It just is what it is.
You just kind of have to follow what inspires you at that moment.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I've been really enjoying expressing myself. Poetry wise, the good, bad, ugly, sexy, and nerdy, all in one.
I know the first time I heard your erotic poetry, I was like, this is really good, but I'm kind of uncomfortable. So
Yes.
I'm telling his mother.
Right? Listen, man. I remember the first time I told Wade that because I had a gig in Nashville, and that's like an hour from where Wayne is in Alabama. So I didn't tell him. I did the gig, and I went and surprised him in Alabama, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I had a gig." Did this poetry gig in Nashville, and he's like, "Oh, what kind of poetry do you do?" And I was like, "Actually, it was an erotic poetry gig." And he was like, "What?" He was so shocked, but yeah. Yeah.
I got to put you on the spot and I don't know if you have a short poem that you want to drop for people so they can get a little, well, not the erotic stuff, but
Gotcha.
whatever you want to flow to, actually. But give people an
Sure.
example.
Sure. Give me one sec. Because I actually wrote one yesterday. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to do this piece. It's a fun piece.
Okay.
This piece is called Just for Kicks. I really love the smell of new sneakers. The feeling when I slip my feet in new kicks, going on a shopping trip for new Nikes might be close to the feeling of coming nightly. There's nothing like the rush of running with new material on my feet. Air Force Ones more fly than the president's plane discreet. All black Air Max that help me match from head to toe complete. The adrenaline rush released when I reach for a new pair unique. Suddenly, I got a new bop in my walk and a confidence in my talk. I look hot on the spot when I'm sporting some new Jordans. Whether or not I paid a fortune, I feel like $1,000,000. I feel like 1,000,000 chucks would make my heart erupt into joy, laughter. Honestly, retro kicks is what I'm after. And yes, the year and cut matters just as much. Yep, but finding the right color and size sometimes takes luck. I know I'm weird and stuff, but when I got new shoes, my attitude is plus, you can tell by my strut. My self-esteem busts when I'm looking more than enough. I guess I'm a sneaker slut, but I'm proud of my lust. I really love shoes. Like it kills my blues, and if they're blue, I might just buy 2, 4, 6, even pairs prepared for any date, and I dare you to become a believer. I'm a sneakerhead. The only thing better is getting head in sneakers. I even wear kicks to church because I got the coolest preacher. This is just a short poem to say I really love being sneaker spoiled rotten. New basketball shoes are cool when I spot them, when I got them, born to rock them. Besides women, music, and poetry, I've definitely got a sneaker problem. That's that poem.
Snap, 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 snap. That's my cousin, y'all. So proud of you. So last question here, or at least winding it down. What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Ooh. So I'm definitely leaving my books definitely behind for my children. I also I have developed a course on how to play piano by ear, and I'm also leaving that behind for my children. Um, those are two main things, like artistically, that I'm leaving behind for them, and I hope that they would explore and leave that down for their children. So I want to, start a generation of artsy children to come and just leave the knowledge that I have garnered and gained and pass it on to them for generations to come. So those are two main things that I'm trying to leave behind. But beside art, like outside of art, I just want to leave a legacy of love and care for humanity. Like I feel like especially in these days that we're in, there's so much darkness, there's so much hatred in the world. That I just want to, like, anyone that knows me, I love to laugh, I love to smile, and I love people. I am super introverted and shy, but I do love, like, when I do, get to know someone I'm able to talk to someone. I find that connection is priceless. So I'm praying that, when I leave this earth, people will remember that about me, that I love to laugh. Outside of the arts, that I loved also to laugh and have fun and to encourage people to do their best and not be someone that was caught up in the hate of the world, but caught up in sharing love to everyone, no matter what race, color, creed, whatever you're into. Yeah.
Yes, that's beautiful. I think we're so similar in the sense that we both love to laugh and smile and make people happy. And,
Yeah.
we definitely have to collab on a project.
I'm down, man. Just let me know what. Anything.
Pick us
Anything.
something, but we definitely have to collab. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I am the Pretty Provocative Poet, all together, all one word, the Pretty Provocative Poet. On Facebook, I am provocative. Pretty Provocative Poet David. So it's Pretty Provocative Poet David, because someone had the name, so I just added my name at the end. And those are really the only two places that I share my arts with the world. And yeah, if you are interested in getting any books or any music or whatever, you can hit me up directly and I will hook you up.
Sweet. I'll have all those links in the credit at the end. Thank you so much for coming out and speaking with me. This was a splash. And, of course, I always enjoy our time together.
Likewise.
We need to spend more time together. We need to start linking up and just, do random photo projects, something, right? Something, create.
Yeah, no, I'm down, man. Even if in the future you're like, hey, you want to get some music under the podcast or whatever, let me know, man. I'm down for whatever.
Okay, I'm holding you to that.
All right.
Come in the studio and start singing.
That's one thing I don't have that I wish I do not have the talent to sing.
I know. we'll get my nephew involved.
Hey, that'll be a vibe.
Have a big family creative project.
Right? I'm down, man. Just let me know.
But that's it for now. Thanks for joining me. Again, I'm Sonya Blade. You're listening to What's Up, Sonya Blade. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think of this interview and share. All right. Thanks, guys. I will see you on the flip side. Peace.
Peace.